Welcome to another Alum Spotlight. I am Vanessa Carter, the Director of Marketing and Communications at Phillips Theological Seminary. And today we are speaking with Reverend Dan Adolphson. Thank you so much for tuning in and enjoy this interview. So, Dan, if you could kind of talk us through, your experience, at Phillips, which I'm sure has many, many layers to it.
Yes. Well, I hit Phillips at a very interesting time in its history. So I started in January of 2010, which was the second semester of the first year of the new online program. So I'm one of the
Wow.
originals.
Wow. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, the Wayback Machine.
What did you get your degree in?
So I have a Master's of Divinity.
Oh, okay. Okay. So if you could, summarize your experience, being one of the first to be remote, and were you in person sometimes as well?
Yes, it's still like it is now was two-thirds, one-third. So the majority got online, and then you would have to do one-third of the degree on campus. When I started, the only on-campus options were the 1 week intensives, or there might be a couple things in the summer. And toward the end, that's kind of when they started doing the weekend stuff that you could come a couple different weekends. But living in Minneapolis, that didn't work. So I just stuck with the whole week thing.
Oh, that's so good. So kind of walk us through what your experience was like, in the classrooms, working with student services and the faculty as well.
It was interesting to be part of something new because each semester it got better and it got better and it got better. Um, Also, as that part happened, technology got better, platforms changed. So it was an adventure, but a good adventure. And also, in that, I was on Student Senate for 2 years remotely, and that was fun. And the professors were all great. Many of the ones that were my professors are now my friends and my colleagues, and so much wonderful knowledge, and also a deep level of care. And professors at Phillips really invest in their students. And I think that's really important in this day and age, especially for a campus that is doing the strong online piece, because that's really important.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that. Um, so can you tell us about what you do in ministry now?
So I have been at First Christian Church in Minneapolis for 13 and a half years. I have been the associate pastor since 2014. I am also the co-facilitator of Disciples Public Presence.
Oh, wow. So tell us a little bit about what you do in that work.
So Disciples Public Presence came out of an experience that my former colleague, the Reverend Dr. Lori Pound Fale, and I had um, when we went to Standing Rock. And if my brain is remembering, that's 2015. And there was a call for clergy to come, and almost 550 clergy came from across the US, across denominations, and this was at the height of the water protector fight on the Standing Rock Reservation in North Dakota. And so, Disciples Public Presence is a ministry of the Upper Midwest region of the Christian Church Disciples of Christ. And it's really a twofold thing. It's a place for us to share opportunities for laity and clergy to come and to post different actions and events in their communities, showing that disciples can show up in the public sphere and make a difference. And also realizing that for some of our clergy siblings, where they are, that's not the easiest thing to do. And they may not be able to show up using the name of their congregation. I don't have that problem here, but I have colleagues who do. And so you can go use the Disciples Public Presence banner and still show up and show to the world and to our colleagues and our friends and our neighbors that disciples care.
Wow, that's beautiful. Within your work and your experience being at Phillips, is there anything that really sticks out to you that you use in your ministry now that you learned from Phillips?
So, where First Christian is, we are just a few blocks from where Alex Preddy was killed, and just a few blocks from where Renee Good was killed, and about a mile, give or take, from where Mr. George Floyd was killed 6 years ago. So when you talk about the public piece of the gospel, that is our lived experience of this congregation. So my Phillips experience, I think about like border links, that whole experience, that immersion class where we're hearing the different voices and dealing with the issues around the border, because those issues just don't stop at the border. And there are things I come back to from that class all the time. But I think the other big piece that really sticks in my brain from all of my classes is that it's just not a book. It's not just papers. Every professor I had at Phillips talked about, here's how either the Hebrew Bible or the Gospels or ministry in general integrate into daily life. It's not just something here, you get your degree, put on the shelf, have a good day. It's really integrative piece. And I'm using stuff all the time still. And it's coming up on 12 years since I graduated.
Wow. And do you remember any particular classes that really maybe, shifted your, understanding of maybe some of your own like faith-based beliefs?
Oh, that's a trick question because so many of them did. Um, I would say both of my main theology classes with Joe Bessler and then Sarah Maurice Brubaker, who's not there anymore. But what I learned from both of them really shifted my thinking around base theological issues. Um, Women of the Hebrew Bible with Dr. Lisa Davison, that was really where that idea of looking for the voices on the margins and looking for what voices have been set aside or silent or covered up. Because oftentimes they're the ones who are on the leading edge, even as they're being marginalized. Um, Also, one class that was really moving for me was when Reverend Dr. Ellen Blue, who used to teach there, used to do a class called Changemakers. And so I studied apartheid um, in South Africa through the eyes of Bishop Desmond Tutu and one of his white clerical, I would say, opponents. But also, Ellen used to do an immersion class um, around the issues of Katrina in New Orleans, because that's where she's from.
Mm.
And so she had written a book at the time I took the class called St. Mark's and the Social Gospel. And it was about the experiences of St. Mark's United Methodist Church in New Orleans and the work that they had done in the community. And there was a point where she said, okay, you're going to read this chapter and then you're going to call me. And I was like, what's this about? So I read the chapter and then I called her and I'm in tears because this chapter was about a moment in queer history that a lot of people don't know about. And it's
Mm.
about this horrendous bar fire in New Orleans. It was a gay bar. It was on the second story of a building. It was where, at that time, people from the fledgling Metropolitan Community Church would go out after worship. And there was a long stairwell that went up to the upstairs. And a man lit that stairwell on fire. And many people died in the fire because they couldn't get to him. It's a pretty horrendous piece of queer history. And
Wow.
St. Mark's was the only church in New Orleans that did the funerals.
Wow.
And Ellen felt it was very important that as a queer man, I knew that history.
Wow. I wanted to go to your point that you said earlier about the care of the faculty and like what you meant by that, but it
Mm-hmm.
sounds like that's really a part of probably what you mean with the level of care and acknowledgement that the faculty would give to you.
Well, there's also other pieces I think about with that. May of 2011, we had a tornado go through the side of Minneapolis where we lived, and our house was broken into a week later. And so I had to put everything on stop. Um, and all the faculty are like, you got to take care of you. You can take your finals when your brain's a little better, but right now you got to take care of you.
Wow, that's really gracious. That kind of support is just wonderful, because you don't stop being a human just because you're
Mm-hmm.
pursuing education. And I think,
Not at all.
yeah, with certain institutions or other educational platforms and stuff, I think, you know, you have to be so mindful of where you invest your time into because culturally, there's this sometimes I just want to be careful how I'm saying it that there's this nuance of taking a human out of something when you
Mm-hmm.
can't. You just simply cannot because too many things tend to happen that we cannot control. And man,
Yeah,
good. I'm really happy to hear that Phillips is not one of those institutions that forgets that we're all human and things happen.
not at all. Not at all. I think another thing that is really important to understand about the time that I went through Phillips, and the institution is still um, living upon, how do I want to say this? The bravery of launching the online program is that there are so many people who, for whatever reason, doing it the old way, picking up, moving your family, moving yourself, leaving your job, going to seminary, just wasn't possible. And because Phillips had this vision of we're going to do something new, they were an early adopter of online theological education. They were really at the forefront at
Yeah.
that moment in time.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, the legacy of the number of students and the different kinds of students that suddenly gained access to a theological education is pretty amazing. When I look at my classmates and all the different places and backgrounds that they came from during those early years of the online program, it's pretty amazing.
Oh yeah.
And I think
Oh
Phillips is still richly benefiting from that early legacy and that early vision to step out in faith and say, we're going to try doing this a new way.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's so good to hear. My next question is more targeted to yourself. And, you know, what kind of impact are you hoping, to make through your ministry?
Well, I want to be somebody who is seen as a pastor that cares for everybody and listens for everybody and makes sure all voices are heard. I want to make sure that it's also not just within the walls of the church building, but out in the community. And that's always been super important to me. I've just recently become a Bethany Fellows mentor leader for young disciple clergy in our denomination. And I'm at this place where I want to start building upon what I've learned and be that supportive voice for those coming up just starting out.
Mm, yeah, that's really impactful. Well, we appreciate the work that you are doing. Um, to kind of end this off, what advice would you share with, prospective students, new students, that are kind of, in the Phillips ecosystem, still deciding if they want to take that step forward, anything you could impart upon them?
Number one, if you're thinking about it, do the road trip. If you're not local to Tulsa, get in the car, get in the plane, get on down there and go visit. Because now you got Bedford House. We didn't have that. I can't wait to see it.
It's nice.
But you really need to see and listen and experience the ethos. I jokingly and not so jokingly have called Phillips for years the progressive outpost on the prairie. Because when I first heard Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm living in metropolitan Minneapolis. But let me tell you something. There's a lot of fantastic things happening in Tulsa, and Phillips is in the thick of it. Don't be afraid to have conversations, talk to pastors, talk to people, um, do your homework because it really is a special place.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good advice. I like that. Well, Dan, this has been so good to talk to you and kind of listen more to your ministry and what you're doing in Minneapolis. And again, we appreciate you doing this highlight, and it has been an honor to talk.
Well, thank you so much. Phillips really changed my life, and I'm so deeply appreciative for the impact it still continues to have in my life and ministry.